June 16th, 2006. Gentle breezes amble through Californian mountain pines. The Amazon rainforest chirps and buzzes with a chorus of frogs and birds. A caveman is offended by his likeness at an airport, meant to compare the ease of use of insurance with primitive man. But the unsuspecting world stands at the brink of change. This was the day a man, a movie, a megastar, a mystery, a myth was born. Now, why is this film the crowning achievement of mankind cinema artistry? Because I just said so with a slightly pretentious glossy video essayist voice, complete with a neutral yet somewhat intelligent-sounding jazz lo-fi hip-hop background. Don't believe me? Here's what the legendary Martin Scorsese says happens every time he watches Nacho Libre.
The images come up, wow, they get you excited again.
You heard it from him. If you don't believe me, let's start with a scene. This scene in Nacho Libre belongs in the Hall of Fame of scenes. It's one of the best scenes to ever do it. Here, underlying themes of passion, faith, and identity dance in a tight formation. This is all wrapped up as a masterclass in subtlety. We start with Nacho sliding toast under the door, a humble offering. He's let in after the illustrious greeting.
How's it going?
They then sit in silence, eating the difficult toast, surely a foreshadowing that Nacho's pursuit of sustenance for himself and others will be marked by suffering. They then start to exchange words and end up finding a miraculous number of things in common, the first great miracle of our story.
Everything you just said is my favorite thing to do. Every day.
Then Encarnacion manages to get to the nitty-gritty of Nacho's heart as he reveals his heart for the orphans.
The children, I love the children. They are my heart. But to tell you the truth, the brothers make me cook stew and stuff all day, but they don't give me money for fresh ingredients.
Then a line is crossed, a seeming duality is bridged. Nacho's duties to the cloth and his passions are crossed by one touch. He manages to faintly suggest his feelings with the slightest shift of his gaze.
Be patient, brother. These too shall pass.
This masterful subtlety defines the arc of the story, whether it's in his veiled admission of his secret identity,
Nacho!
or the vaguely implied admission of his inner anguish.
Sucks to be me right now.
Think my analysis is invalid? Well, the lo-fi hip-hop jazz underneath this scene would suggest otherwise. The setting certainly works in the film's favor. I mean, the mise-en-scène here is mise-en-scening so hard. Everything oozes an authentic, lived-in Mexico as director Jared Hess chose to shoot this film in Oaxaca. This is an authenticity that could never be recreated with a constructed set. This means that Nacho Libre doesn't have to rely on extreme yellow color grading to tell us that we are, in fact, in Mexico. Also refreshing is the depiction of Mexican culture in American cinema that isn't completely defined by cartel activity. But transcending the realm of film, Nacho's timeless style hit the fashion world like a tidal wave, probably, proving that he was not just a wrestler, but an idea, a movement, an icon. But behind the movie is a legend, and underneath the legend is a mask. And beneath the mask is a man, and beneath the man is the true story of Frey Tormenta. You see, this is a video about a film that was inspired by a man who was inspired by a film. It's Nacho Libreception. Let's go back to the beginning. It's 1963, and in the dim theater light of a black and white film, a troubled 17-year-old boy watches the film, compelled by the image of a masked wrestler, a priest wrestling for the plight of the orphans. The movie was 1963's El Señor Tormenta, and the 17-year-old boy, Sergio, would not leave the theater changed, not yet at least. What followed was a continuation of his life of alcohol and drug addiction, which was supported by crime and theft. At his lowest, he entered a confessional, but after being given a cold shoulder by the priest, he entered rehab and studied to become a priest himself, one that could and would help society's most needy, the least of these. His personal experience with the streets would give him the ability to relate to the outcasts of society, from addicts to convicts. So he did just that, and after adopting orphans, he eventually created an orphanage for them. But after the local diocese refused to financially support the orphanage, he knew he'd have to find a way to support them himself. That's when an old memory came back to him. The movie he watched in the theater so many years ago, featuring a priest who fights as a wrestler for the orphans. Sergio had his answer. He trained rigorously for the new night-lighting role and created the wrestler name of Frey Tormenta, or Friar Storm. His first match earned him only $15, but he didn't quit. His fame spread and all of his earnings went to help the orphans. After his identity was accidentally revealed, it turned out for the best as it compounded his fame and gained him wrestling exhibitions all over the world.
We're here to invite you to be at one of our TV tapings, our national TV shows in Corpus Christi on November the 13th.
But believe it or not, Nacho Libre is not the only film to be inspired by Frey's story. There was another more serious drama made in France in 1991 about Frey, The Man in the Golden Mask, starring Jean Reno, the actor from Leon the Professional and Mission Impossible. Alongside these movies, Friar Storm also appears in video games and comics. And eventually, one of the orphans he helped even took up his mantle in the ring with the name of Frey Tormenta Jr. Nearing his 80s, Friar Storm still serves at his orphanage outside of Mexico City, which to this day has helped over 2,000 children. As tentpole blockbusters take over Hollywood and the rest are dumped to streaming, this type of medium-budget comedy from the 2000s is virtually extinct. But with the age of higher-budget comedies over, it reminds us of one thing: that every human who ventures too far into the desert canyons, every nun whose favorite color is light tan, every orphan in need, and every dark intruder will hear his name ring through the cold night.
He's the biggest and greatest superstar this business has ever known and ever will know.
We cannot replace him. We cannot.
He was special.